Iain Kerr from Ocean Alliance. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, mate, doing good, doing good. You?
Great. Okay, so I'm hoping you and Amy are well. I'm assuming you are.
We are staying relatively sane, thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, what's the latest? How's Ocean Alliance dealing with the new normal that we're all in these days?
Yeah, you know what, relatively speaking, I think we're pretty lucky. You know, we're not a sort of membership organization like Maritime Gloucester or Schooner Adventure where they need people across the decks. We're more of an international organization. And what's amazing is we actually had an expedition in Mexico and got back on like the 10th of March type of thing when already the airports were sort of dead. So we were lost down in Mexico, and then we came back and we're like, what the heck's going on with the world? But that meant that we already collected a lot of data, and we run about 4 expeditions a year. So we'll do the expedition and then we'll analyze the data. So it's almost like going grocery shopping. We went wildlife grocery shopping and then got home before the lockdown. So that was good.
Mm.
But on the waterfront, it's quite exciting. We've actually put some docks outside of our headquarters, outside of the Ocean Alliance building. So I'm really hoping that we're going to get more sail training vessels, more schooners, more research vessels coming to Gloucester, because there aren't actually a lot of sort of open docks for sort of nonprofits and research vessels. So it'll take a while, and I'm actually going to charge some money at the beginning to pay off the mortgage I had to pull out to get the docks. But it's great to have that, you know, a little bit more activity on the waterfront.
Yeah, and we're first talking about the old paint factory building. And are there still stretches of that being rehabbed, Ian?
Correct. Actually, there is work being being done right now. So there are 3 brick buildings. 1 brick building is completely finished. The 2 others, there's actually teams working on them right now. We're putting in disabled access bathrooms, and I've got another couple of grants out there, and I'm hoping we'll finish those buildings this year. We currently have a sort of maker space, innovation space in a shipping container, and we need a bigger shipping container. So I'm hoping we can get buildings A and B, as we call them, finished, and then move our Makerspace Innovation Center and our robotics club. I mean, until this shut down, we had a robotics club every other Wednesday where, thanks to groups like Applied Materials, kids could come and build, crash, burn, 3D print, virtual immersion. You should both come out. You can actually swim with a whale with a virtual immersion headset. It's actually pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
So
can I ask about the whales?
please.
Because I have been, my morning run is through Halibut Point, and on at least 2 mornings, there have been whales off
That's right.
that promontory at Halibut Point. So what kind of whales are they, and are we really delighted? Is everyone as delighted as I am that they're there?
I think so. I think so. Right now, I mean, there's a lot of whales out there. Now, actually, we launched our research vessel yesterday. So I have to be fair and say we haven't gone out yet. But we'll hopefully be going out quite soon. But right now, there's a mass of zooplankton. There's a mass of food out there that these animals like. And it's real simple. The whales go where the food is. And as with last year, it looks like a lot of the food is quite close to the shore. So a lot of these animals you're seeing are these critically endangered northern right whales they're in there jammed up next to each other, you know, actually, dare I say, like some of our supermarkets. I need that toilet paper. No. So there's a feeding frenzy going on right now. And actually the right whales will actually, within the next month or 2, will actually start moving further north. And we're actually quite lucky to see them here, because most of them are actually down between like Provincetown and I think Scituate, you know, in the Cape Cod Bay there. But there's always a few of them up here, and it's great to see. And the good news is there were actually 10 calves born when they were down in Florida. So that's one of the largest calvings they've had. I mean, the bad news about the northern right whale, I hate to say, is I think since 2017, I think 30 whales have died and 22 have been born. So the problem is their mortality rate has been higher than the calving rate. But 10 calves, that's a big deal. So fingers crossed, you know.
So these are indeed right whales off of Halibut Point?
Correct, correct.
That's
Yeah,
so
it's pretty exciting. But
neat.
again, you know, if you can, leave them alone. They're feeding. You know, you're not allowed to get within, I think, 1,000 feet. They're feeding, but it's a real treat to see them. And I'm hoping, and maybe I can report in a couple of weeks, I'm hoping we can get out and see what's going on. Ocean Alliance doesn't have a study with the northern right whale. There's great groups doing like the New England Aquarium, Center for Coastal Studies are really focusing on those animals. We help as and when we can. For example, we've been trying to integrate the use of drones to help with whale disentanglement. Because if you see something in the water from a boat and it's entangled, it's hard to assess the entanglement. But if you can get a drone up above it, 100 feet up, so it's not disturbing the animal, looking down, you could say, oh, wait a minute, that line goes over this line. So we're supporting the disentanglement efforts. And we've just applied for a new research permit that will allow us to do photogrammetry studies opportunistically. And another great thing about drones, as I'm sure you're aware, I don't think anybody's ever weighed a whale. You know, how big is a whale? I mean, on one level, particularly like the humpback whales, we probably know more about these humpback whales up here than any other whale population on the planet. But do we know how big they are? Do we know how much they've been growing every week? And you'll tell how easily this rolls off my tongue, how many times I've said this, but oceanography has sort of long been a prerogative of the privileged. You know, you look at that wonderful institution, Woods Hole, and they have these great boats that cost 20, 30 million, that cost 20 grand a day. And Ocean Alliance has actually been trying to sort of democratize science, bring science to the people by using drones. And it's amazing. Photogrammetry studies and abundance studies have been typically done with airplanes that are costing, you know, thousands of dollars an hour. And actually, marine mammal researchers have died in airplane crashes. So we're looking, can we get these drones up there? And I have a $1,000 drone that we use down in Mexico to measure the size of a blue whale. And if you think, if you can measure a calf, then you know how big it was in 2020. And then for the rest of its life, that data is important. And you might see an animal growing a lot one year and not the next year. And how does that affect the climate and the food, etc.? So it's really exciting, the information these drones are giving us beyond our snot research, and we can get into that whether you want or not. It's whatever you want, you know?
Well, now you have to go into the snot research. Give us the summary of the snot bot.
Okay, well, in short, Ocean Alliance is very interested in what human activities sort of stress whales and potentially cause whales harm. And the sad thing about it is well, it's not sad, but I spent almost 20 years of my life biopsying whales. And I think what we should do a little test next week, okay? Let's get Corey on Main Street, all right? I'm gonna bring out my biopsy gun and I'm gonna chase him down the street. And when I get my sample, let's see how stressed he is, you know?
It's not the first time I've been threatened with that, by the way.
Well, there we go. Well, but this is for science, Corey.
Yeah.
This is for science.
Can you do that? Snot, but we got to do some COVID tests with a snot bot somehow.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, people are doing that. But so the problem we've had a little bit is the act of collecting the data could have changed the data. They call that the observer effect. So my big challenge was, and it probably came from the financial perspective, I was chasing these whales after the Deepwater Horizon disaster with a biopsy gun, and it was like playing whack-a-mole while I was ripping up $100 bills. And I'm like, you know, this is not working. And I've always been a modeler, you know, flying model airplanes, trying to make my hobby very different from my job, you know, biology. And I suddenly thought, could we fly like a drone or an airplane into a whale's exhalation? And guess what? Because whales are explosive breathers, you know, you hear that, an animal blowing, they're blowing out at 60, 70 miles an hour. They're actually sort of ablating off or rubbing off cells from inside their lung and inside their nasal passages. And guess what? They're throwing up DNA, hormones, microbiomes, ketones, potentially pollution. So I just fly this drone into this whale snot, and I can do a non-invasive health assessment. And as you can tell, I'm also very excited about this. You know, I think a lot of kids have the wrong idea of science. They see men and women in white coats, do you know what I mean? And speaking a language nobody understands. And I think to save the wild world, we need to start thinking more outside of the box. Currently, we seem to be failing a little bit. You know, we're losing more species than we're gaining sort of per day. So I'm excited that kids are going, snotbot? What is that? You know, and actually we've been collecting whale feces to not only get hormones, but actually look at microplastics in whale feces. And so now we've got snot and poo, and these kids are loving it. And we're getting kids involved and getting kids to realize, wait a minute, science could be a crossover between Indiana Jones and Nancy Drew. I mean, it really is a bit of adventure, I think. And I'm excited that, you know, this affordable, replicable, scalable tool developed here at Ocean Alliance and now being used in 12 countries around the world is also engaging kids with science. So yeah, and I'm having fun too. I'm sorry.
What does whale feces look like?
Man, I thought,
That's where you went.
I love you. I love you because you're gonna love. I mean, I'm gonna make a sexist comment, but you might love this. In the case of blue whales, and by the way, after this talk, why don't I send you a couple of videos and clips, and you can put them up, okay?
Man, that'd be great.
Believe it or not, blue whale poo is pink.
Mm.
And I just have to say, you have no idea how much fun it was for me to be standing in customs about 2 months ago, and the guy said, anything to declare? And I said, I have pink whale poo and whale snot. And you know, the guy's like, this guy's either really stupid or he's going to jail, you know. Anyway, they actually dragged me over to this counter, and there were some of the customs people like, I want to see the pink poo. And it was a lot of fun, you know, but
is it smelly?
Yeah, oh my God, it is awful. I mean, it's like this horrible, rotten, fishy, and you know, I'll tell you something. I think the New England Aquarium have done it. They've actually been able to track right whales with dogs, because guess what? The dogs can smell this poo from like 5 miles away. I mean, somebody look it up, but I think they've had a problem because some of the dogs actually get seasick, but that's how stinky this stuff is. And I think that the first poo collection we got, we were in the boat in Mexico, and we were like, oh my God, what's that? And then everyone went whale poo, and then we found it, and you know, and I don't laugh. We have this metal net that we scoop it up, and trust me, when a 80-foot, 60-ton animal goes to the bathroom, we're talking some serious poo here. You know, we were in a poo-nami, if you like. There was poo all around the boat, and my team are like gagging over the side, and I'm we get it up with a net, and then I would scoop it with a spoon into a little plastic vial, and you know, anyway, I pretended once to take that spoon close to my mouth, but anyway, but you know, but it's amazing. You know, I mean, I think most kids probably would have heard of owl pellets, where you can break open these pellets and see what the owl is eating, but the being able to collect poo and snot and do photogrammetry and behavior, you are really getting, you know, an incredible snapshot into the life of this animal. And wildlife biology is really almost like making jigsaws. You know, you're trying to get enough of these pieces until you have a picture that tells you a story. And hey, if you can do it with pink whale poo, what the hell, eh?
You are not kidding. This is the best interview in a long time. Pink whale poo.
Well, and I was going to ask Ian, if people want to support Ocean Alliance during this time, how can they do that? We know they're going to donate. We probably just want to clarify that we want to donate money and not poo or snot.
Yeah, that would, yeah. We've had plenty of volunteers on the other front.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ocean Alliance has 2 major initiatives going on. And one is trying to save the paint factory. And if I could be blunt, saving those buildings is a full-time job, and then doing the oceanography is a full-time job. I'll be blunt, I've had lots of sort of negative comments on social media that have really made me sad, because I think a lot of people haven't come down there. I mean, we are spending money on those buildings every day. And if you go down there and look at the site, you can see it. I mean, let's wait till COVID is over, but we've done a lot, and we've really walked the talk here. When we've had an opportunity of doing it cheap or doing it right, we've done it right, okay? And actually, I've got something like 4 million of restoration into the buildings and cleanup. We had to spend about $1.5 million cleaning up lead paint, copper, all this type of stuff. I was actually lucky we were able to get federal cleanup grants for that. But if people want these iconic buildings back, it's real simple. Show me the money. Do you know what I mean? And it is funny that something like 80% of the restoration money for those buildings so far has come from California, which I must say I feel is a little embarrassing, because there are buildings, they're Gloucester's building. I mean, that manufacturing building is sitting there, but we need about $4 million just for that main building. And we can't do it piecemeal. You can't, you know what I mean? I don't want to get it half done and then stop. We need to have 4 million in the bank. So, and we do run, as many NGOs, we run restricted accounts. You can say, I want it for the paint factory, and it will go to that. And we're audited every year. I will say this year, we actually have an enormous biological opportunity out on the banks, because I don't know, but I think that there's going to be less humans out there. I'm worried about the whale watch businesses. We've done a lot of work with Seven Seas and Cape Ann, and I really wish them all the best, but I'm thinking that they're not going to be launching as early, and that does mean we might encounter other whale behaviors. So we are really desperate now to get out there and get as much data as we can, because hopefully this isn't going to happen again, shutting down America like this. But on one level, biologists like me need to see part of this as an opportunity to collect what are potentially unique data sets. And again, our website is just whale.org. So and I'm sure you heard this, but there's a British fellow called Edmund Burke that said nobody did worse than he who did nothing, or she, for fear they could only do a little. And when I look at plastic pollution in the ocean, that's just lots of little things being washed down into the ocean. And if we can get people more and more, not just supporting Ocean Alliance, but supporting ocean conservation groups, just again, everybody in Gloucester gave $1, that'd be $30,000. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I think this, Corey, but and Heather, just to remind people, we actually do a lot of work monitoring ocean pollution. And then I report on that work to the UN and lots of legislative bodies. And, we don't want polluted oceans. It's not good for the fishing industry. It's not good for the tourist industry, and the reality we have is the oceans are sort of downhill from everything. Gravity never sleeps. And people like me are going out there collecting data and saying, this level of pollution is unacceptable. It's healthy whales, healthy oceans, healthy humans, healthy economy.
Right.
Am I biased? I guess.
Well, fascinating chat, Iain. We would love to follow up on you with all of this. And then eventually we got to get back and visit down at Rocky Neck there and go see it. So thanks for your time.
Well,
Stay
thank
well.
you. I'll send you a couple of clips and some poo. If you get any smelly mail, it's no. Hey, thank you for what you're doing and being a voice for the community. We need you guys out there, putting a smile on our face.
We love talking to you. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.